Yeah, good. You?
Not too bad. Got Meatball running around in the background as well. Hope you guys are all good. Hope everyone else watching is good. The podcast later on with the VODs, whatever. Hope everyone's doing really well.
Something weird is happening with mine.
Well, you look good on our end. At least on my end, everything looks okay. So, that'd
be fine.
I guess we'll do usual intros. Josh, Richard, Mike, Colby, all four of us that we had last time on the first podcast stream. Nobody knew this go around, which we were hoping to pick somebody up, but I guess that's just how it's going to go. We have some channels in Discord that you guys can you can do a Q&A for as well too. If you guys have anything that you want to talk about or have discussions on, you guys are more than welcome to hop on Discord or obviously in live chats and speak with us as well. Richard and Mike both have some interactive things, or at least Richard. Mike, I don't know if you have yours all set up yet, but interactive things on stream that's kind of fun as well. So, you guys had anything you want to add for intros?
No, not really. Come and mess with my lights. Feel free.
Let's get a lightning storm going. Come on.
It's actually lightning here, so.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's been storming for a while now, so. That's kind of why I was like, I think I'll just stay home today. There's some stuff I could be doing outside, but I don't think so. Okay, so new stuff for JustCuz and for us, for the stream team and everything. We've picked up a new creator, Darth Squirrels, longtime friends of most of ours. Has new friends to a lot of you, or a lot of our creators, but he's been in 5M communities previous to us, or previous with us. He's had some personal stuff going on, some stuff in life that he kind of had to deal with and attend to and do. So he's come back around and picked up a new computer and a new setup, and was streaming last night. Actually, we had a conversation with him and everything. So he is a new creator on JustCuz, so you'll hopefully see him around, and he will be hopefully here next time. Actually, that'd be pretty nice. And then Musket 2000, Skyler. He has become a moderator in our Discord. He has inquired about a future creator for JustCuz as well too. He has internet issues and stuff that just doesn't allow him to live stream, but he will be putting out content for YouTube and VODs and everything too. So he'll do a lot of recording and outputting some content for everybody. So I think that's it. I think that's the new two individuals that we have for JustCuz, which is awesome to see the team expanding and everyone growing. I think we're close to 115 Discord members, so we're up like, I don't know, 15, 13, I think, from last week. So a couple a day. Seems like that's awesome to see.
Yeah, I agree.
Colby, we have some new stuff.
I fixed it.
In JustCuz.
Mike fixed it, apparently.
3 minutes in and I fixed it.
Good one, Mike. Yeah.
Good. So as far as like our servers and stuff for JustCuz, we've added we've had the 5PD server, but today we're also I think I'll put out an announcement later today, but we also have an ARC server now, so you can request that in the those that wanted to request it in the Play Some Games channel. It's very basic. There's no mods yet, but we plan to add maybe a couple mods as the community wants it. As you find something you like, just let us know. We'll kind of work and see if we can work it in. 5PD is doing pretty good. Added a few more callouts yesterday, plus some items and couple more vehicles, and so we're doing pretty good there. Yeah, it's kind of update on servers.
I know Richard was in there last night messing around, causing havoc, which I guess is funny to see.
Yeah, we won't talk about that too much.
No,
no rules, so kind of
exactly.
Good. Public server. No, I think it's fun to get into and have a different perspective or aspect on stuff, and you can kind of do some LEO role play, I guess, with the AI. I haven't really got into it. I wasn't ever an officer for any 5M community or any kind of role playing at all, really. So it doesn't really pique my interest on that side of it. But I know for a lot of people it does. For like
an hour,
one cycle, I think I had tags for a cycle.
Yep.
Yeah, and I got talked into it pretty much is what it was. So
Jessica says hi, everybody.
What's going on? Hey.
Hi, Jessica.
Yeah, so the Arc server, I think it'll be something that I'll get into because I know a lot of people used to like Arc, so that'll be a thing coming up. I know Mike and Colby, we spoke about that whole Dead Side game, which Richard, I don't know if you took a peek at any of that stuff, but another survival style game. There's no zombies in it. There's bandits, but it's kind of the same perspective. So there's no like hordes of people. You can go and loot and do some stuff, and then just a different version of a survival game. It looks pretty good. I mean, there's building and everything on the same thing. So maybe possibly something like that in the future. Pretty cheap game, like $12 on Steam, I think it was. So
yeah.
But yeah,
How does it
Probably
compare to
still that
stuff
way.
like Miscreated? Because for
Well,
me,
it's-
Miscreated is almost the complete game, isn't it?
So there's no zombies in Dead Side. There's AI kind of factions that wander around that you have to
Okay.
defend against.
Yeah.
There's not as much crafting from what I saw. So,
Dead Side is now $20.
but there is goals, or I guess like tasks that you can do as well. So there's like in-map things that you can achieve, which I think is something that Miscreated absolutely misses. That
Needs.
once you get to a point,
Yes.
it's like. So I think
Yes.
like, being able to go out and like take over a recon point or get something or pick something up for an additional, I think that's really what Miscreated misses on.
Yeah.
Um,
And we kind of talked about, didn't we, having a bit of a game mode in when we had 2 Miscreated servers running, where we would do a capture the flag type thing or an assassin type mission with several of us in there,
yeah.
and see who could survive the longest or whatever.
I think just having the ability to get on it as a group and then go achieve a task, like that's just what
doing
the
a
biggest thing
hospital
is.
raid or
Yeah.
military base
Gold
raid.
Sit down,
plus whatever it is.
kids.
Is your meatball-
We
Hey,
do.
so are you gonna explain the meatball thing, Josh? Because I mean, I only learned that earlier. That's good.
Well,
What's everybody saying?
I don't think probably not. No, but I'll call him a meatball, and he'll probably come over here in a little bit. But he's a meatball. He can meatball, and you're being a meatball. So it's pretty much all of the above.
Now
Rich is
an
like,
end of verb.
"Meatball, what's that?" I said, "Yeah, he's meatballing. It's fine."
Yeah.
He's relatively okay, but you'll see him like he'll pass through in the background and pick some stuff up and yell and do
There he
stuff
goes.
just random. But he's watching Mickey,
Good.
so hopefully, okay, all right. All right.
So we talked about Will joining already, right?
You did?
Yep. Talked about
Good.
Skylar as well.
Skylar as well. Oh my gosh, I got somebody following me. That's fantastic. Thank you
Yeah,
for the
we-
follow.
So Richard, you want a part of this? We thought that would be awesome if you wanted to get on it, because Mike had, I believe it was brought up, Mike had a buddy that asked him if he'd ever had something from America or from the U.S.
That's right.
And he said he hadn't. And then I said, well, how many things is there that like Canada has that the U.S. doesn't have?
This man.
Right.
And I have a list as well too
Okay.
of things that, like I said, hey Mike, do you have this? And he's like, yeah, I don't know what that is. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, seriously?
Basic things. And I am gonna send you some craft dinner because you need to have a box of Canadian craft dinner, KD, with your craft macaroni and cheese, and tell me which one's better.
What's craft dinner?
Craft dinner is it's
mac and cheese.
noodles with
Okay.
cheese. Yes,
It's just labeled
It's
different.
mac and cheese. It's
See,
Canadian mac
but
and
the cheese is different. Is my
But
point.
so there's like there's a lot of stuff that I have, like he doesn't have a lot of cherry colas, like cherry pops and cherry
No.
cokes and stuff. We have like cherry vanilla Pepsi and cherry vanilla Dr. Pepper and cherry 7-Up, and like cherry is like one of the biggest things to put in everything. Mr. Pibb, which I don't know if everyone has Mr. Pibb. Grandma's cookies, which I'm a husky kid. I love the Grandma's cookies, like of all kinds.
Yep.
Cheez-Its. He didn't know what Cheez-Its were.
Well, I've heard of Cheez-Its before. That's but I don't know where I've heard of them. I mean,
See
I
some
don't
of these
think they're a
things.
thing here.
Some of these things I just don't buy. So maybe they are on the shelf, and I just pass them by.
Well, Cheez-Its
Oh,
are
yeah.
like a chip cracker, but
Right.
maybe you just don't pick them up, but they're everywhere for us. Like they're on the end display shelves, they're in the
They're
when you
kinda like
check out
written
line.
everywhere.
I mean, they're in the chips, they're everywhere. Yeah, you like Cheez-Its too. He loves the Cheez-Its, but they
So, I
have
mean,
like
go on.
20 different kinds of Cheez-Its.
So you know how you guys have Lays,
Yep.
Yeah.
and you probably call them chips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have Walker's Crisps, and it's the same brand.
Okay.
Same
Um,
thing.
So we call them crisps.
So
Because chips are French fries to you.
Well,
French fries
no,
are
French
shit.
fries are finer cut
Mm,
than chips.
okay.
So
What?
when we would have fish and chips, we would have there'd be
French fries are finer cut than chips are.
Yeah, like McDonald's fries are French fries, as far as we're concerned.
Jessica disagrees with you.
Ours are
Completely.
Okay,
Ours are freedom fries.
very good. Okay,
I remember that. I remember that whole
Independent
video trying to go. It's just unbelievable. But like Swedish fish. I'm not a huge Swedish fish fan. I know a lot of people love Swedish fish. Mike has something that's like them, but he doesn't have Swedish fish.
Okay.
This is meatball.
Meatball. Let's see meatball.
So
Oh, we've got a pixelated version of meatball, but it's
There's
better than no meatball.
there's also a whole host of chocolate bars that
Yeah,
they don't have
yes.
down there, like Coffee Crisps and Crispy Crunch,
Mm.
Mr. Big, Wonder Bar, Eat More. Eat Mores are so good. Oh my god.
Never heard of any of those.
I haven't made a list, but I mean there are loads of things that we have that don't seem to travel. So Marmite is one. We have Cadbury's chocolate, which always was kind of a British only thing. I think you can buy Cadbury's branded stuff over there, but it's Hershey's chocolate inside.
So Cadbury
which means
makes
it looks, yeah.
a whole bunch of stuff, but the Cadbury eggs are only available during Easter time.
Okay, and they're available all the time here. But,
Yeah, we get them all the time as well too.
Yeah. But again, they might look the same, but the chocolate's different. So you kind of need to try some proper British Cadbury chocolate someday.
What is that?
If I ever see
Marmite?
you, I'll bring some with me.
What is Marmite?
Marmite is a yeast extract, so it's a black spread that's quite salty, and you might put it on toast, for example.
Yeah, see, so
Ew.
he's gonna.
Why would
Richard's
I
gonna
put
be
that on
in
toast?
that's gonna be a different world like that.
Yeah,
You're gonna send some stuff that's.
you're
And
going to be
what-
like, nobody would eat that.
And what is Vegemite?
Well, so that's the Aussie kind
That's
of
the Aussies.
approach to Marmite. So it doesn't taste the same though, but it's kind of the same concept, the same type of product.
Not good.
Well, no, the thing is, when people refer to things as being Marmite, they're basically saying love it or hate it. People either love Marmite or hate Marmite. So,
Right.
and I'm in the former, so I like the stuff. But you don't
first
find anybody
person, I
that
guess.
says, you don't find anybody that says Marmite's all right. They either love it or hate it.
Right. Huh.
Yeah.
It's like Spam.
But he doesn't.
Nothing wrong with sweet.
Mike doesn't have easy cheese, like the squeezed cheese. Like you put on a cracker, you just.
Still trying to figure out if that's a bad thing or not.
It's not a good thing. It's not a good thing to have. It's not a good
for
thing.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just cheese. But like
Hospital.
pimento cheese, like pimento
Okay.
spread. Mike doesn't have
Yeah.
pimento spread, and there's different kinds of pimento spread too. And I always liked pimento spread, but
The original's good. The pineapple, I like the pineapple. Pimento is probably my favorite.
Pineapple doesn't.
Yeah, it's
sound right.
here. Let me
Okay.
let's see if I can find a picture. Hold on.
Got some. Oh, I thought you were going to say you've got some. You're just going to come out and sort of hold it up to the camera.
so there was a Cadbury Adams factory, a Cadbury Adams in
Mhm.
the town that I live in. So there was Cadbury, and then it got changed over to Kraft, and I think actually it's
Yes,
a
yes.
Mondelez,
Okay.
something like that, Mondelez food distribution or something now.
Mhm.
So, but
Yeah.
it's kind of made its way around as far as Cadbury is concerned. But I thought that'd be funny. Just it'll probably cost $50 or $60, but buy a bunch of stuff at the store and
Yes.
send it to Mike. So
And then we're going to stream each other sampling each other's junk food.
I could send you some McDonald's, I suppose. I mean, you know, we could.
I
Compare.
mean, I wanted to send him some Tim Hortons, but they might
Yeah.
not get there. Things like a beaver tail, which is kind of like carnival food, a poutine. But
Yes.
I might just send you the instructions to make
Yeah.
a poutine.
it's just gonna be a potato, a jug of gravy, and some bacon bits, and then
A jug
So-
of gravy.
You know, guys, we need to recruit an Australian to the group, and then we could have things like pie floaters as well.
we might have one in the
Tim Tams.
Discord roaming around. But
There you go. That's an idea.
sounds like trouble.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I'm in.
that would-
Somebody's asking in chat where I am, and I'm in Saskatchewan, and that's all I'll say.
He's in the prairies.
All right, smack dab in the middle.
Mm. And I'm just outside London. There you go. If anybody wants to know.
I'm in Illinois,
small world.
Midwestern.
Potatoes.
Who is that?
Colby's in potatoes.
He's in the computer distribution, or what is it?
Silicon
Memory?
Valley?
Yeah, the memory distribution capital of the world. I still don't understand that.
Yeah. Okay. So Crucial makes their chips, or makes some of their chips here in Idaho.
Yeah, but again, they don't make
Yeah.
more than they do potatoes. That's all I'm saying. There's more potatoes than there are
that's
crucial
pricey.
chips. So
Mm.
So I
cost,
assume
yeah.
people that have Crucial chips or SSDs come from Idaho.
Yeah, so
How's that?
Canada, London, Illinois, Idaho. So not. I mean, I guess a decent spread for me and you, Kobe, because not really different parts of the country, but not far enough. So
Oh yeah,
Me and-
we're different.
me and
We're
Mike
different.
even thought about traveling towards each other, but it's like a 17-hour trip for like a one-way trip. So
Yeah.
we're talking like 9 hours drive time or 8.5 hours drive time, which would be pretty rough. And then you end up in like North Dakota. So
Yeah, there's nothing in North Dakota. It's just
You've got to be
fields.
pretty
So-
committed.
You and Kobe should both come up here to Canada. The real land of the free, by the way.
jeez,
Don't-
There you
Don't hit me.
Okay.
Don't throw anything at me.
Okay.
go.
And
I don't know about that. I mean, we could bring up freedom of speech stuff, but I guess that'd be another topic of conversation. What?
I'm too busy drinking my coffee.
What?
Yeah.
Lincoln.
What's next on the list here?
Go on
This
then.
might be a good segue moment.
Yeah, console stuff. I know we spoke about it last time as far as like new generation consoles. Mike, I think you put a PS5 new coming out, so I don't know who wanted to talk about that.
I don't know. It's always the great debate of what console you go with, and it's always Sony or Microsoft. There's Nintendo, but I would say that anybody that goes with either an Xbox or a PlayStation could also get a Nintendo and get the same enjoyment out of it. It doesn't really compete because they've got their own separate games, whereas Xbox and Sony they share a lot of titles.
Yeah.
There's the Forza Gran Turismo thing, but
Mhm.
whatever.
It looks
Yeah.
space age like the PS5. Have you guys seen pictures of it?
I have.
Yeah.
And there's a couple different versions of it. One with a drive, one without. Multiple different hard drive sizes. And I've heard rumor of this newfangled controller that apparently has all these sensors in it to detect your heart rate, your
Pretty cool.
yeah.
It's a large console as well.
It is. So
Like it's a computer. I mean,
that's basically
Yeah.
what they're
Well, they-
built now.
that's
they
kind
will.
of they're all pretty much from the original Xbox on just became a miniaturized computer. Like so they were just
Yep.
maxing out your frame rate and maxing out your so you're getting a relatively low end video card or a capable video card, but it's not going to be a high-end one.
It's still relatively narrow, though, like slim. It's not super wide, so it's not like a desktop video card is in there. It's going to still be mobile, like laptop technology.
I looked last night on some computers for our local for what we have going on. I can buy like an i7 computer or an i9 computer for like $800. That's I can fit into my wife's purse and carry around. Like the computers anymore, like I mean, they've become a 6x6, 8x8 kind of 3-inch deep desktop computer. I mean, they're a lot smaller than most systems are. I mean,
hello, love everyone.
So I guess it just becomes weird to where you're getting to the point to where when's it just stop being a console and just being a computer? Like I guess I don't really get that part.
Well, I mean,
the only thing that makes it a console is the fact that it runs different games than what your PC would run. Other than the fact it's the same thing. It's not proprietary PC.
It's just an OS. That's the difference.
Yeah.
I guess the question though becomes like, what would come out on Xbox that we won't get on PC or don't get first on PC?
Halo.
Well, that gap is being bridged steadily because you buy a copy of a game and sometimes it even comes with either the PC or the Xbox version. It's the PlayStation one that gets me. Like,
well, and so this
exclusive PlayStation games.
Sony bought a pretty good chunk of share in Epic, so I'm wondering if they're going to share some stuff where they bring some of the Sony stuff to the Epic Game Store.
So then it just becomes more of a prospect. It just becomes more of a prospect to have a PC at that point, because then if Sony's putting out Epic stuff, and I mean, Xbox is going to say Microsoft. Like,
I guess, but the PlayStation is going to be a powerful system, and they always sell it at a loss. So, even though it's the equivalent to my PC that I built for, however much insane dollars I spent, you'll still be able to buy this for that $500 to $700 range, and you'll have, a system that's more capable than a computer you could build for $1,200. And then if they do the cross-platform deal with Epic, you'll be able to play, Grand Theft Auto 6 or as an example, cross-platform, which would be fantastic.
So then the problem becomes, I mean, you know how much it costs to upgrade a PC compared to buying an entirely new console for $500 or $600. I mean, for me to put a new video card into my PC for $600.
Yeah.
So, if you're already engaged in or invested in PC, is it even a viable thing to say no? I'm switching over to a console.
Maybe not to switch, no, but people that are upgrading from a PS4 to and want to play the next generation games, they're probably not going to make that switch to a PC. They'll probably just buy the next console or switch to another console.
Well, that's the center that they're in. We buy PC games because we have a PC, but they just keep updating the consoles like we upgrade our PCs.
And I'm a sucker, so I'll buy both. I mean,
but most games that I play on here, I can play on my Xbox the same.
So, I mean, for me, I mean, my Xbox One is downstairs and lives in our living room. Josh has just looked around to see if Meatball's disappeared. No, he's there. He's good. It's all right. He's not disappeared into the floor or So actually, an Xbox game for me is in a different room. It's a room that we share as a family, whereas this room here is my kind of study, come laboratory, whatever you want to call it, and I can just leave stuff set up here that's just for me, which is pretty lucky, I guess. But yeah, so I think though, if I remember back to when I was trying to hack the original Xbox and make it run Linux after it was useful as a gaming machine, it was entirely doable, and it was just basically, I think, was it a 386 or something inside, or Pentium 3? Oh, Pentium 3, not 386.
Yeah, Pentium 3.
So it was kind of a almost usable machine, but so heavily optimized towards games that trying to run Windows on it was kind of not going to happen, and the Linux build was quite bespoke. Whereas I think that Sony on there, was it PS2, I want to say, or PS3, opened it up right from the start, and they said, well, if you want to run Linux on it, here you go, here's how you do it. Whereas Microsoft with the Xbox kind of went, no, don't even try it.
I didn't even hear about that, but I would guess the PS3 would be the console to do that with.
I think
it is Linux for PS2.
That's bizarre.
So it's released by Sony in 2002.
There you go. Yeah. So I remember that happening, and that was quite a big thing actually. That a console manufacturer had kind of opened it up to that point.
It says OS family is Unix-like.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, based on the principles of Unix.
So let me ask this then: what is the major differences between the PS5 and the whatever this new Xbox is called?
I've not looked, so I honestly don't know.
Probably the same thing. That's the difference between the PS4 and Xbox One.
Marketing, probably.
Yeah, a label.
Yeah.
Sony have normally been pretty good at rolling their own chipsets for things, so it would kind of not surprise me if Sony did kind of go down that line. They're quite proprietary, whereas I think Microsoft are more likely to, buy something.
I'm quite interested to see what the VR technology is going to be like, and what if that price point's going to come down, because they just started getting into it at the tail end of the PS4.
Mm-hmm.
I guess within the last year, so yeah. So
yeah.
I'm wondering what that's going to look like. Is there going to be cross compatibility, so you don't have to buy all new hardware? That better be a thing, because there's people that spend hundreds of dollars on that. Or maybe even the ability to take like a third-party headset and pair it.
I mean, honestly, it'd be dumb for them not to have a proprietary setup. Like, if Sony didn't come out with their proprietary VR headset, I mean, not that they'd be losing money out on it, but why wouldn't they?
It's what they would do, but hopefully they can reuse
an Oculus
or even the older PlayStation VR headset to the new system. I know that when they were doing the Move thing, where you had the little sticks with balls on them and stuff like that, and the camera, that was not backwards compatible. You had to get a new camera and all that. So that, but that was like $80 versus $400. So it'd be nice if they had that, and then maybe I would consider getting VR for my PlayStation.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll talk about that stuff later, but I'll show you something in a bit that I made with the 3D printer as an alternative to VR. So being a bit of a cheapskate.
Sure.
And the neat thing for me is that it makes streaming flight sims.
I'm imagining a shoulder mount that you put your monitor on.
yeah, and then just end up, getting a bit tired, face down on the floor. Okay.
Well, good. So Mike, your earlier one, like I think they both have 4K UHD Blu-ray drives. It looks like the PlayStation has a bigger internal storage. 8K resolution, 120 hertz refresh at 4K.
Oh, I forgot about 8K. Yeah.
There's all this kind of like, it probably not as much hardware. Honestly, it looks like it's all like software. I mean, it's pretty much how it's going. There's only so much you can do before you're just throwing RAM, drive, and video cards at it, and you're already a small computer anyway, so it has to come down to your processing and your software. I mean, that's built into the GPU hardware.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, I don't know about all that stuff.
Yeah, it does.
So I'm wondering,
So the chat says here, Holy Crusaders says, blood fuels me. Random. But welcome to the stream.
That's
Awkward.
weird.
Okay.
It's weird flex,
It
bro.
fuels all of us.
Okay.
Each his
Yeah,
own.
it works for all of us. Yeah. Not weird. Yeah.
Might want to do something. You seem a little low on the blood today, so might want to just relax a little bit.
Inject some.
I don't know. I
Get some
don't
iron
have
in
any,
you.
I don't have any. Unless there was a deal on a Series X or a PS5, I don't think I'm going to be going that route. I'll probably pick it up in 20 years when it's a collectible, I guess, at that point. But
Well, and I'll tell you what I tell everybody that's looking to buy a console: don't rush to the store and buy it the first day. Wait for the next run to go through. The first run of consoles, I'm not going to say they're
Faulty.
always faulty, but if there's going to be a fault, that's where it's going to be picked up and ironed out.
Yeah.
I think that's bad advice. I think you should go stand in line for 10 hours and wait for a console to come out immediately.
Well,
Josh,
somebody's got to wean out the garbage, right?
Do you have an iPhone there, Josh?
No, I don't have an iPhone either. No,
Fair enough, just checking.
3 days of standing in line. No, I'm an Android. That's also the biggest thing too.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I definitely agree with that too. That it seems to. There's problems with this because we, sold 1,500 of them, and now everyone's complaining that there's something wrong, and it's like, we should have caught this early on. But that's how it's going to go. I mean, the market flood with those units. That's how it's going to turn out.
There's going to be the early adopters, the guys that's got to get it first. They'll put it on camera, the unboxing, the this, that, and the other thing, and then they're the first ones to complain in the forums when the hard drive crashes or the power supply blows up. Yeah.
So same time. I didn't go and buy one of those Super Nintendos or the Nintendo Classics, the two stations that they came with that were HDMI's, because I didn't want to stand in line for like 3 hours and wait for one. I still don't have one. I don't know if I'm necessarily disappointed because I have a Retro Pi or Raspberry Pi. I did think about going and buy those when they came out, but I think they sold for like $150, and then the next day people were trying to sell them for $200 or $185.
Well,
now they're harder to find, I guess. But
my brother got a couple of them.
Yeah.
But it seems like there's multiple companies making them now.
Well, there's a lot of scam ones. There's a lot of shady ones that aren't.
So are you talking the little box that has all like the complete catalog already on it, or is this?
Yeah,
The original NES, yeah.
Okay.
Not complete, but yeah, there's a collection of games with it.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, he bought a couple of them. One of them had a slight issue with it with the controller, but the other one worked pretty good. I think he still uses it.
It's pretty much. I'll show you this or try to.
It basically is one of your, what do you call them, Raspberry Pis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so on my Switch as well too, Nintendo's come out with the same collection pretty much. They continuously update it. You can get all the old school games on your Switch too, so you could stream it. And if you had a USB controller, also a good option to do that as well. So.
Or you can mod a Wii. Wii's can also be modded to have all the games.
That's kind of interesting. So we've got a Wii that we've had now for years, and largely now it just sits around and does nothing. So I kind of look at it every now and then, thinking, what can I use that for? Could it become another Linux computer? But I don't think it's got much storage, has it? So
what can I take it apart and turn it into?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's got USB ports, so you could expand the memory with an external drive.
Yeah. But then it ends up being. I mean, for me, I've spent years doing that stuff, but it becomes a challenge, and then when you've done it, you kind of realize it's not as good as it was. So, the challenge is done, but the end product's not worth having. So, I'm learning slowly to kind of leave things alone and not do that so much.
Stop taking the toaster apart, Richard.
So this is kind of the other side to it too, is that it's an odd thing when like Nintendo. So they put this thing out on Switch, which I don't play this a ton, and I'd like to, but they put this out and they have all these and pick through a bunch of games. So if I go to the top, there's these new games over the last week that they've just updated into it. So it's a current. I mean, there's still updating it now, which seems weird that they're spending time to do this. Or maybe it's just one person, I guess. But
Well, it's
that's
part
the-
of the pull to the platform, isn't it?
And that's their
So-
current platform. I don't think they're slated to release anything new, are they?
well, yeah, but these are old school games that are getting released onto this platform. So I pay a subscription for this a year. I think it's like $20 for the year. So it's a monthly fee. I just paid for the entire year. But these aren't like new games. You know, these are Super Nintendo games and regular Nintendo games that they're then putting out on here. So I think it's just an odd thing that they're spending this time to do this on here. Like I said, maybe it's just one person. So I mean, I don't dislike it. It's just kind of an odd thing to think about that Nintendo sitting down and taking these efforts to do this for us, you know. So
Well, they do cater to the younger gaming audience, and what better way for a kid like your daughter there that likes play the side scroller, get into gaming, play some old school Zelda or Mario, Super Mario
and
3.
Lainey will play like regular Mario. She does like to play that. She usually doesn't like to play it on this. I can hook it up to the TV and then she'll play it on there. But
Right.
it's neat to get. So she plays this, and then I actually pull out the old console and plug that in, and she's like, "What is this thing?" There's the cartridge. And you jam it in there, and it's like, "This is how it used to be, kid."
We call this a crash course in video gaming.
Yeah, so that is cool, but at the same time, it's like there's all these things that I guess I don't know how much Sony does or anybody else does, but that they're doing behind the scenes as well too. Like I know they come out with these new systems, but it's got to be like that for a lot of things.
Yeah. Hey, so we've got Only Here for Knees in chat saying, "Who's the guy with the Canadian flag?" That's Mike.
Hi.
Give him a wave. There you go. So Mike can have a fan.
Like, follow, subscribe.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
I'm gonna bring up the Discord chat, and nobody is chatting in our podcast Q&A.
It's okay. It's
That's an
middle of the
opportunity.
day for us, so
It is. So if you do want to get involved, make sure you click on the Discord links in our panel dealies, or
There
I
you go.
posted a link in my chat, and come and play.
Indeed. And mess with my lights as well. Go on. Try and surprise me. See what you can do.
So
So,
exciting times for new consoles, for sure.
maybe.
I was going to talk about the return of sports.
Oh,
Um,
I'm sorry, Mike. I got one thing that based off of the console stuff. I
Okay.
purchased the console. I think I showed you guys this thing.
Oh, right. Your relic.
Fight Island.
Relic.
Oh. Only Here for Knees. Thank
It
you
is
for
a
the follow.
relic. Like
It is.
us. It's a relic. Like, what do you do with all
Hey,
that?
you got it. Good.
I got it. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
good.
It is a ColecoVision. These are corded controllers. They're numpads with
Only the
joysticks
best.
on the top.
Does it have Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
It
Is it
I could
3G
put
or
Wi-Fi
LTE?
Did Wi-Fi even exist, Mike? No.
No. What is the internet? Old
When
school
was that?
cartridge, old school cartridge games
Yeah,
like this, Donkey Kong, ColecoVision,
Yep.
little itty bitty
So
chip.
that
You
looks
take
like-
this apart, it's tiny.
Yeah. Mid-80s, maybe?
Actually, you know what? I didn't actually look
Hmm.
to see.
Not quite the whole squad there, Finton, but pretty close.
Yeah.
Tin fan. We got a question. We get a chance. You guys want to answer some questions?
Ooh.
Appreciate the fellas. Thank you guys. I didn't. actually
Only
see-
here. Thanks for the follow.
Only Here for Knees.
Yep.
So somebody tell me what Fight Island is then, because I've never heard of that one. That's new to me.
Fight Island is the new UFC experiment where they're going to host all of their fights from this island. So I don't know if you know about their old TV show that they had, where it's basically a competition to see who the new, up and coming fighter is going to be. I imagine
Yep.
that Fight Island's going to be just the location where they do all of that from. possibly where they host some of their main events from. Although, I don't know how much money they'll miss out on tickets sales if they do that. So maybe they'll still tour around.
Yeah.
Just a base camp kind of idea.
Yeah, cool.
Just to show off how much money they made.
Yeah. So you're talking about return of sports. I mean, everything basically stopped over here. I guess it did with you too. And now we're having some sports. Obviously, are saying that we're not going to carry on unless all the audiences come back and watch, which isn't quite going to happen in this country just yet. And others are kind of going for the other approach, which is, well, we're going to make it more accessible. So instead of it perhaps just being on a paid network, like Sky or something like that, the BBC, our British Broadcasting Corporation, is getting to show some stuff. But I mean, it's for one, I'm not really much of a sports person, if that makes sense. I watch Formula One, but beyond that, it passes me by, and
I want to talk
something else
more about racing in a minute, but I want to talk about
Go on, then.
Things like the NHL, the NFL. Up here we have the CFL. I can hear the size already, but they're going to be having shorter seasons for sure. I can really only talk about the CFL right now because that's the freshest in my mind. They're talking about a shorter season, goes slightly longer, kind of offsetting, starting later but ending slightly later. It's going to be approximately half a season. The league or all the teams have, given all the season ticket holders majority of their money back for the season.
Yeah.
And they're going to be, I think in the CFL, they're going to be playing games in their hometowns, But in the NHL, they're talking about playing all the games in hub cities. So your cities like Toronto, Minnesota. There's another one down in the south. That's going to be very interesting.
Yeah. So how are they going to get over the audience thing? Is that going to happen, or?
That's an interesting question. If you're talking like baseball and NFL, I think you could probably do some social distancing, trying to keep crowds separated a little bit by only allowing so many people in. But I don't know, because now you've got season ticket holders, and now you're going to try and tell some season ticket holders they can't come. That's not going to work. So
yes.
We'll just have to issue refunds, I assume.
I don't know.
And that really hurts the clubs themselves. Over here, the commentary about the football clubs is that they are, they kind of went through this whole paused kind of period, but it's the crowds coming to the grounds that pay the bills effectively, and then it's things like TV rights that pays for the players and everything else. So if they're not having the audiences, the crowds in, then that's quite damaging.
So the other thing is, what if? Oh yeah, here I'll post the multi-stream for you here. So when crowds don't sell out, like if you have a game going on and you don't sell out all the tickets, they typically do a blackout where the game is no longer televised. They probably wouldn't do that in the NFL, but they do that here in Canada for CFL games and some hockey games.
I can see it for NBA.
So, what then? Because you can't expect to sell out anymore. In light of this, I mean, you may, but you can't expect it. So, are they going to lift the blackouts, and are they going to make it more accessible, so that people can watch it possibly on a pay-per-view network or something like that to try and recover some of those costs? So only here for knees says switch to streams have smaller stadium crowds. Have been
Ooh.
dwindling anyways. So
Never touched it.
I don't know that that's 100% true. Certainly not in all regions and not all sports. So you'll notice that some of the southern hockey teams they do struggle with crowd sizes.
Yep.
But NFL games, every NFL game I've watched is packed like sardines in those stadiums.
Yeah, I bet. Yes.
I don't know. I guess it depends on the team at that time. I mean, like I've been to NFL games and MLB games where, like, I went to a game in Detroit last year, and there wasn't a lot of people there. I mean, I think it's just depending on the team who's playing at that time and everything as well too. So
MLB is a bit of a hit or miss because playoffs, yeah, absolutely, the stadium will be full. But if it's like they play so many games. What is it, like 160 some games a year?
yeah. So that's kind of the turnoff for some people too.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
Yeah.
too much.
Yeah.
NFL, I think it's kind of a weird thing because I think that there's a lot of people that do go to NFL games, but at the same time, like if you look at the stadium as a whole, obviously the first set of stands going all the way up is usually full. It's hit and miss all
Yes.
the way up from there. But
Yes.
yeah, there's definitely a ton of people at NFL games, kind of regardless of who it is too. But like you said, it's a different type of sport as well too, to where like there might be something that'll happen in an NFL game that's just all of a sudden it happens and it takes place compared to like baseball. You're gonna see some home runs. Like that's not really
Yes.
that
Yep.
crazy
Right.
of a thing. But to see a huge hit or a huge crazy play in the NFL, it's just a percentage thing of how many plays or how many times it's going to happen, really, too. So, especially when even on a bad team, like you still have usually one outstanding member that you want to see, like a punt return or a kick return, or how many plays the guy can get in because he's an outstanding athlete, regardless.
Yeah. And also, I mean, something else that I think we can only aspire to, really, that you guys get right, is that whole kind of sense of an event around matches. Certainly, when I come across, occasionally, and I get to go and sit in some kind of sports bar, there's screens everywhere with everything going on all the time. And each one of those events, I mean, obviously bigger country as well for a start, but each one of those events is kind of a major thing. And some of your games, for example, are split up and make kind of lots of space for people to talk and eat and kind of do stuff whilst still watching the
It's
few minutes at a time, if you like, of action. And
the
it's kind of broken up.
extracurricular stuff at an event. I mean, like
Yeah,
I go to a baseball game, I'm
Tailgating.
3 hours. Yeah, I'm 3 hours early to a baseball game tailgating, which is a disaster sometimes, depending on how much you've had to drink. Because you show up early to a baseball game and it's a nice day out, it's going to be a rough, long day for you. But yeah, I think that is a big thing too, as well. Like, I know a lot of people that don't. They just go to the tailgate and then they'll go to the bar afterwards, or they'll go to a sports bar and hang out. But they just want to be part of the tailgate and part of that crowd.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a big thing as well too. But that's going to be. I mean, that has been obviously cut down with everything that's going on as well too. So we missed our. We usually go twice. We get tickets that are relatively expensive, and we go to a couple of events. Obviously, we didn't get to do that. So.
So, what about? You were talking about auto racing, and this kind of goes in with the sports a bit. I've been noticing a lot of iRacing and or simulation racing is now being picked up on TV networks. NASCAR now has the NASCAR commentary on broadcast video game races. And there's a lot of money being to be won in this, and these guys are playing in simulation chassis and cockpits in front of their monitors in remote locations with force feedback steering wheels. And I don't know if you guys have ever watched somebody doing like a NASCAR circuit race or just like a really long race in iRacing, but it's a workout for them.
So I haven't, and in fact, it's something that's completely passed me by. I mean, I know that Formula One obviously use simulators quite seriously, and there's a woman over here. I forget her surname, but she was the woman who brought simulation to the McLaren racing team in Formula One, and one of the quotes that she made was that Lewis Hamilton, who's really well known, said it to Juan Pablo Montoya. Are you going to go in the simulator? And he was so Juan Pablo was new to the team, and he turned around and went, "No, I don't really, I don't really do the simulator." And they kind of had this kind of conversation, and he said, "No, you should go, give it a try." And she was there when he came out, and he was like, "That's really good. That's that's awesome." And the difference that it made was that where they take some time to get used to a track and get used to a car. He went to, and I forget which the circuit was, but he went to one circuit that he'd never raced on, and was out of the box faster than anybody else.
Well, just to know your corners, what's coming up.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
at the most basic level, knowing which way the corners go, but this was a simulator that simulated even things like the masses of the wheels, the compliance in the tires, and with not sustained G-forces, because they still can't quite do that, but with enough feel that that actually he felt confident when he got in the real car, and that's awesome. If you want an endorsement of a methodology, then that's it.
But I mean, that's how like even racing with a controller is. I mean, the first lap is always going to be really rough, but after the 15th lap, you know what corner's coming up. So I mean, being able to do that even for an hour a day, until your race comes around is, I mean, obviously a no-brainer for most of them. But I mean, Mike, iRacing's been around for over a decade now.
It's been around for a while, yeah.
But so I mean, like, there's individuals that build, huge racks and wheels, and like they'll bring half of a car in their house and put a screen and everything. So I mean, that stuff's crazy. I mean,
it is
super expensive too.
And you can do it from any end of the spectrum, from doing it with a controller, or the full chassis with the racing wheel and the straps and the I imagine there's got to be some kind of even simulator to get the road feel. I don't know about the G's or whatever, but that would be.
Well, G's means you've got to be thrown around to get.
Yeah, you'd have to have a
big room.
Well, I mean, they do make them. You can purchase them that are on fucking hydraulics and whatnot and everything else. But it just, like I said, so the pedals and the wheels and everything that I thought about picking up, it was like $700, like $650 or something like that, and like a force feedback wheel, and I forgot the name of them. It was like a Ferrari style everything. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, you can pick those up at Best Buy for about $300-$400.
So somewhere in the loft, I've got my original Xbox 360 force feedback wheel and pedals. The Microsoft branded one, and actually that was really nice to use. So, given that you can use those, a standard 360 controller on your PC these days, makes me wonder whether I should go and dig it out and see if it's any good.
You should, for if no other reason, just for SnowRunner.
Do you reckon? Yeah,
I think it would be interesting.
Maybe.
My downfall for that kind of stuff would be I would want a seat. So then I'd have to have a vehicle seat set up.
So
kind of
if you're crafty at all, you can go to the auto wrecker and get yourself a bucket seat.
Indeed.
And then build yourself a frame to put your steering wheel and all that on.
Yep.
Yeah.
I bet you can weld, Josh.
I'd be more concerned with somebody climbing all over it all the time. That would be my biggest. Yeah. Having a $2,000 setup that somebody's just cranking on, jumping on, and just tearing the whole thing up. Somebody.
Yeah.
No, I thought about that too. Maybe so. Obviously, the room that I'm in, Richard, a little different than yours. I don't have a closed door policy. I don't even have a door. It's just part of the basement. So this is what takes place over here. The next house that we move into, I think I'll have my own room so I can have my setup and everything. That'll be confined space. green screen and all that kind of stuff. Maybe at that time I'll set something up, but I don't know. iRacing seems like it seems like everything else that you get into and then you're like dive into it and then you're invested in it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I could talk about DCS at this point if you want. I mean, that's something that I got into kind of by accident, really. Andrew, I don't know whether Andrew's watching today, but Andrew Silk Monkey said, you want to try this, and I saw some recordings, downloaded it. The game, of course, is free, but where they make their money is on all the modules for the aircraft and everything else. But I've never flown anything quite so realistic. I'm so impressed. So I was lucky. He bought me the F-18C Hornet.
yeah, that stuff's not cheap either.
It's just, well, I mean, I think it was half price in a sale, but even so, he'd I think been given a couple of modules and gave me one of them. And yeah, so about $40 is what it was half price. And I've got to say, you spend $40 on a game quite easily, and if you just bought the Hornet and flew it around in the standard maps and everything else, it's still awesome. But this is the beginning of the slippery slope, because, of course, try and fly it on an Xbox controller, and it's really hard work because there aren't enough axes on the controller. So that was £100. I went out and bought a hot ass, a hand-on throttle and a stick. So that's something. And then, of course, I find that I can't look round.
Snowball.
Move the camera view. So we touch on, am I then going to bite the bullet and buy VR? Heard lots of stories about VR making people feel not very well, and I don't fancy, just doing something that might make me uncomfortable. I want to have fun with it, and so I went down the route of the infrared face tracker, and I've got for other than having to buy I'm going to call it a joystick, but flight stick and pedals. No, not pedals. The throttle. For $140 or so, because I think it's about $100 for that stick in your country. I've got a fantastic setup. The face tracker thing, which is I'm looking on the floor next to me. There'll be gravity normally happens to that. Here it is. Oh.
I like how you keep it on the floor.
Yeah, I mean nobody goes there, so that. Oh, there you go. This thing, which I can show you on when we get to 3D printing. I looked at them and then thought, well, I can make that, and it just goes on my headphones here. And a second camera, an old PS3i camera with its infrared filter does the business there. So for next to no money really. I've got something which gives me a parallel to IR. I can just move my head, about this far to look all the way around, and I can see kind of, right behind me, because it just adjusts the direction that the screen's pointing. It'd be interesting to try that in GTA, because I think GTA would work. And actually, you could probably do it in SnowRunner as well, except obviously the view is quite limited in SnowRunner, so that might get frustrating. But certainly in the cockpit of the F-18, it's amazing. And the other thing that's really surprised me is I've streamed it right from the beginning, and I've found that people will drop into your stream and sit and watch, and then give you coaching. So literally, Twitch viewers have taught me how to fly that plane, how to land on an aircraft carrier, how to take off. Fantastic, honestly. How to operate the instruments. So I've had a load of fun with that, and I think you guys all need to go and get yourself a version of it so we can. Josh, no, not Charles. Hey, you could 3D print the what do you call it? It gives you an excuse. So.
I thought about it. The whole flying thing. I don't know. I like you said, 5M. You can fly around in there. I think that's probably it's too much for me. Like having to sit down and like remember how to start everything up. And I watch you guys go through like your sequences for flight, and it's like,
yeah. So I must admit, I short circuit all of that. I need to learn that stuff. But yes, there are people who will just literally sit there with you and say, "Now press this. No, down a bit. Yeah, that one there." And just so patient. You know, there's a guy Blooms who pops into stream and just watches and gives me those hints. And I don't know where they find that patience from, because if once I'd watch somebody go around 12 times and get something wrong, I'd probably be at the end of my tether. But they were pretty darn good. So what's up? What's next?
Well, we do have a question in the Discord.
Oh, we do?
Yeah. Smithy would like to know what our favorite movies, books, and series are. Kobe, you've been quiet. You want to start with that?
Yeah, sure. So let's see. He said movies.
Movies,
books / series.
Okay,
you
so
can probably get into pretty much anything. Music. I mean, we could discuss a lot about each other, I guess.
Okay, so if you're gonna go movies, I'm a big comedy fan. I like Jim Carrey, Liar Liar. Some of the older school stuff I like a little bit better than some of the new stuff. My favorite book. I don't read much, but when I read a lot, I was a kid, and so it had to be Harry Potter at the time. And series, like TV series, I assume.
I think it's pretty open ended.
Yeah.
There's so many good TV shows, so many terrible TV shows. Probably my favorite series has got to be King of Queens from the 90s.
King of Queens.
King of Queens.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have to look that one up. So
it's good.
Okay, I've heard the name.
It is pretty good. It's got Kevin James, Leah Remini. It's a sitcom based in Queens, New York. It's probably my favorite TV show. Number 2, very close behind it, is Everybody Loves Raymond.
That was a good show.
It's like the same lump as like Friends and Seinfeld, like all the I enjoyed.
I've never seen Friends or Seinfeld.
Oh,
okay. I'm sorry. What? You've never seen Seinfeld?
No, I haven't.
Oh,
I've probably watched like a half episode here and there, but
yeah, you need to watch some Seinfeld. The Friends, I mean, Friends is fine. It's funny and everything, and you need to watch Seinfeld though.
Yeah. Very well written.
Yeah.
And those characters are iconic. I mean,
yeah,
you can't beat Kramer.
Yeah.
Good, Mike. What do you
got? What have I got? My movies, the movies that I generally go through. I mean, I liked all the Marvel movies that came out. Star Wars, obviously. The Star Trek movies I liked. So a lot of sci-fi there, but I also the movies that I watch over and over again are the cult classics. Your Boondock Saints, your Fight Club, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
I watched Spaceballs the other night because it was on TV.
Oh yeah, Spaceballs. Galaxy Quest.
Cult movies, yeah.
Galaxy Quest is awesome.
Yeah.
That's
What's my last
one of the
name?
best-
I don't have
Yeah.
one.
That's right. The consumable guy. Yeah.
Scrapes the ship on the side of the
that-
port on the way out.
Just never ending all the way down. You're looking at it, everybody's going. Oh dear. There are so many good lines in that, and for the point where the captain, the Thermians go and look for the captain, they find him at his home, and he's lying there hungover, asleep as they come in, and and he says, let me find some shoes, and they all look around, they're like looking around, like where would the shoes be? Maybe on the ceiling, just so many funny things. Where they tested the digital conveyor as well, where they tested it on that monster thing, and they successfully beamed it aboard the ship, and then it was of course Inside Out. Do you remember that?
I haven't seen that movie in quite a while, but
Oh, do you know that's a watch together? That one is. I'll
Yeah,
watch that
yeah, we could.
again.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
There's been a couple of series on the streaming platforms. There was Space Force with Steve Carell.
Oh, yeah.
There is what's the Seth? Who's the guy that did Family Guy?
Seth MacFarlane.
Seth MacFarlane. He did a kind of a sci-fi TV show, comedy show. What the hell was it called? Oh my god, it's named after the ship. Oh, that's gonna bug me. And then there's
Google.
There's another one with Hugh Laurie. The Orville. Yeah, that I love that. That's yes. The Orville is really good. It's closer to Star Trek than the new Star Trek series are, which is interesting. And it's all the good parts that I liked about Star Trek too.
Yeah.
But there's I think it's on HBO. Is this new? Crap, I'm spacing here. These good shows that I've binged watched the last couple of months. I should have Googled this before I asked the question. HBO sci-fi. I don't know. It's got Hugh Laurie. It's all based off of a luxury spaceship liner that goes through space, and they get something happens. They go off course, and now instead of 3 weeks in space, it's going to be like 3 years or 28 years. They can't make up their mind.
Avenue 5?
Avenue 5. Thank you.
There you go.
Very good show.
It's HBO.
Yeah. So no laugh track, but very funny.
Mm-hmm.
You will not need to be told when to laugh on that one.
No.
Books, I don't really read. I'm more into your movies and TV shows, video games, that sort of thing.
Yep. Cool.
I save all my reading for work. How about that?
Good.
Yeah. Go on then. I'll pile in then. So books then, seeing as that's where you left it. Bit like you really. I don't get lots of time to read, but the books that I suppose most recently have read have been the Andy McNabb type books. If you've heard of him, he's an ex Special Forces. Well, what would you describe him as? Person. So he, I think, left the British Special Forces and then set himself up writing using that kind of experience, I suppose. I'm sure that most of it's totally made up, but it makes for an interesting read. So that's books. In terms of films, I agree with things like Galaxy Quest. I love that film. I could sit and watch that again. I've really got into, for years and years, loved the whole Star Trek Next Gen franchise. So that whole Picard Data thing, loved that for probably the last 20 years or so. And best film, I think. Hey, get you with your Star Trek stuff. Is that the?
That's the Enterprise. That's the D. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Don't let Marina Sirtis drive it, because she'll have the saucer off and crash into it.
I got a funny story about that. I actually went to our version of Comic-Con, and Marina Sirtis was up here. and she talked for a while about how she got to drive the ship twice, and on both occasions she crashed it. And she talked about how she got the script, and she's like, "I get to drive the ship," and she called Michael Dorn up, and she goes, "I get to drive the ship. I get to drive the ship," and he's like, "Keep reading."
Nice. Good. Dear. Do you guys get many? I suppose you do. British export TV. So, I think the nicest series that I've watched in the last few years have been the Sherlock series.
Is that with
that's
not the Robert
Cumberbatch?
Okay, not the Robert Downey Jr. one.
No. And that I really like that because it's got you can watch it several times and see something new every time. It's the series that just keeps on giving. And there are lots of jokes in it, so it's quite funny. There are lots of very, very quick, sharp, sarcastic put downs that I guess you perhaps have to tune into a little bit to spot some. But yeah, some really, really good storylines in that, and that would be my recommendation.
So I have to ask you though, what's your stance on Doctor Who?
Doctor Who. Now, I watched it as a kid. It's an institution. And then I watched it again for a little while. I'm trying to think who was in it at the time. I think was it Tennant and Billy Piper were in it at that point in time. And that wasn't particularly because of who was in it. It was just because I got back into it.
Okay.
But I watched it through I would say late 80s, early 90s.
So I remember
and then kind of went away from it for a while.
I remember as a kid, I would sit in front of the TV and I'd wait for my Ninja Turtles or Darkwing Duck or DuckTales to come on, and I'd wait for my show, and sometimes I'd fall asleep on the floor, and I'd sleep right through my show, and I knew I missed it if I heard that ominous Doctor Who theme song, and I'm like, damn it.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So I was a bit like that with Knight Rider back in the day. I had a black and white television when Knight Rider was going out, and that was fantastic. It's everybody's dream, wasn't it? That car was amazing. So, but what about you, Josh?
So I don't know the last time I read a book. Like I actually sat down and read a book just because I wanted to read a book. I have some that were my grandfather's. He was a huge he'd read during the day, he'd listen to AM radio and just politics and whatnot, and read books. But obviously the later part of his life. So I have some of his that I've kept that I think he was in the Navy, so a lot of his stuff is Navy based or kind of military based books, which I don't not want to read. I don't think I'll find an interest long enough to pique my interest. So I do have probably 15 books that I want to read sooner than later, but reading's definitely not my thing. If you ask me what you think of this, I'd probably ask you if there's a movie to watch it, just for time frame sakes as well too. Series, I'm a comedy guy. I think I don't. We had this conversation last night with some members in Discord. They were all like NCIS and mysteries and the cop solving kind of. I'd watch them if they were playing. If I was at somebody's house and they wanted to watch NCIS, I'd sit through it for a half an hour. But I'm definitely not gonna sit down and watch a whole series of them. While I'm not working. My wife has recently finished every single episode of The Office, which I really like The Office a lot.
Good show.
Nothing. And then
Bears beat Battlestar Galactica.
I don't know. I'm not really. Mostly comedies, I guess it would be. I just watch. I guess I tend to watch more movies, and most of them are comedy movies, like I said, Spaceballs and Billy Madison type movies and stuff like that, like older stuff that I enjoy to watch. But I don't know, like Fast and the Furious series, I liked those a lot. I mean, into vehicles for a long time, like Alien versus Predator, all those different kind of series. I liked those a lot too. Indiana Jones was always a big thing. I literally just like typed in some series, and Lord of the Rings. I watched all those. Wasn't a huge fan of them. Like I know a lot of people wanted to read the books and whatnot. I just the Harry Potters, like you guys brought up, I would never sit and read the books. I've watched all the movies once. I'm probably not going to go through and watch them again. But
Yes.
yeah, I don't know. I guess mostly comedies is where I get from. And then if I do sit down to watch a movie, I usually fall asleep halfway through it. So
I was looking for something to just watch this morning, and I was on Netflix, and I saw a preview for a show called The Old Guard. And I thought it was a TV series, but it's actually a full-length movie based off of a group of immortals that are, they're kind of warriors and all this. It was pretty good. I was skeptical, but it was really good. And then they kind of leave it open at the end as well for another one to come out. So
yes.
I'm hopeful for that. That's something that I'm probably going to end up following.
Yeah. I suppose.
What about?
I mean, I went through. Go on.
The ERs. Did you guys ever watch like any of those? The wife watched a bunch of them, but
are you talking about the old sitcom ER?
Yeah.
We used to watch that. It was ER, Friends. That was kind of that
so my problem, even with like the NCIS and those kind of like, it's just too much. It's like I don't expect to watch something and like always believe every movie that I watch or every series that's going on. There just comes to a point to where it's like a soap opera where every episode something's going on, and I get it. Like you have to have it because it's going to pique interest and whatnot. It's just most of the time it's like, okay, come on, like seriously, like that is not what would actually take place. And I get that's the point of it, but it was always just too much for me to just
too much drama.
I get you completely. Although the one show that I didn't like any of the NCISs or the CSIs or anything like that, but the one show I did get hooked on was House.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I watched an episode by accident, and I was like, well, now I got to watch this from the beginning, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
Good show.
And there was the Mentalist as well that I watched accidentally in boredom on an airplane once, and that had quite a surprising hook. I kind of got into that a little bit. It didn't kind of linger. I mean, I quite enjoyed that show, and I watched a couple of others, but I didn't kind of make the effort. One thing that I did watch on a plane heading to Washington was the first episode ever of the House of Cards. So there was a British version of House of Cards, a classic, and then that was kind of redone by Netflix using a lot of the same names. The characters were kind of based of the same type of person, if you like, and roles. But the thing was obviously set in Washington, and seeing as I'd never been there before, this is DC as opposed to Washington State. Seeing as I'd never been there before, of course, I'm just kind of like looking. So I see the first episode, and then on the plane heading home again, I saw the second episode, and I got hooked into leading up to the presidency kind of thing, and Francis Circuit that just would stop at nothing to get there.
I didn't like the first episode, but the series is very good.
Yeah, I mean the first episode kind of starts out, wow, in the first few moments of that.
I did not like that at all. The rest of the series is fine, but I did not like that first part at all.
No. I mean, I'm kind of surprised I made it past that.
Same.
Yeah.
I love the whole thing. It's a character you love to hate. It's
yeah. You end up feeling sorry for Stamper as well downstream.
Yeah,
just
a little bit. Although he's a sleazy guy.
Yeah.
Still sleazy.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
It all started off with that show Dexter, where the guy's a serial killer, but you're rooting for him the
Right.
entire way. You
Oh,
know?
okay.
Yeah, but he's a good guy. He was a good serial
He
killer.
was a good serial killer,
Good.
yeah, I guess. As good as it gets.
And
We
then
like
so I found myself just being a tourist and watching House of Cards, looking for places that I could point out and go, been there, I've been there, I've been there. So, and having and that's surprisingly easy to be able to do that. And then, of course, the thing that followed along after that was the unwilling president, the what was it called, designated
Designated
survivor,
Survivor. Very
which
good
had
show.
had a lot of good kind of stuff in it. And then it just seemed to lose. It went off the boil a bit, like House of Cards did. It just kind of the
Well,
later
unfortunately,
series just weren't as good.
It started on ABC, NBC, something like that, and then it went to Netflix, and it just didn't do as well on Netflix. It wasn't as good of a show on Netflix.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
What
Is my opinion, anyways.
What do you guys think about Westworld? Have you guys
Haven't seen it.
You haven't seen
No,
Westworld?
not seen it.
Oh, okay.
Nope.
They're in
Not a bit.
They're in their third season of that. It's all about an amusement park for adults, if you will. So think like an old-timey Wild West area, and the map is huge. And you go into this park, and the first thing they ask you is, do you want the white hat or the black hat? Good guy, bad guy. And then you go into the park, and you meet characters that are all animatronic, but very, very lifelike animatronic. And, they can die, and then they bring them back, and the narratives kind of start over the next day, and you can carry on the storyline. And then, but of course, there's a rebellious part of the AI, and they start to fight back a little bit. So, very good story. I recommend it. But the couple following series get really like. I'd almost suggest watching them back to back so that you can keep track of the story, because it gets a little out there.
Yes. Yeah. Well, there you go. There's some watch together type suggestions for us then.
Sure.
We can have some fun with that.
Yeah, for anyone that doesn't know what we're talking about, we'll just sit in Discord, watch movies together, and work on projects or play a different game or something like that. So,
Yeah.
Relatively usual anymore.
Yeah, that's the wonderful thing about having a couple of monitors. So you can kind of be doing something on there and have something going on the side.
Right.
Nice.
I don't think there's any more questions in there. I got no more on mine.
Hey, Derek. Welcome to the stream.
What else is going on?
So you guys.
So Derek from Midwest is here. He's saying, "Who's there? Rich, Mike, and who else?" So you've got. Here we go. You've got Josh. Wave hello, Josh. Hey, and wave hello, Colby.
Hello.
Hey, hello.
These are your former
So you go,
civilian managers when they
There you
were
go,
in the Midwest community.
Absolutely.
Back then, in the Wayback Machine.
Like, we're talking March.
And we still miss you. Yeah.
Way back when.
Way back when. Feels like a different world.
Kind of is, actually.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, it is true.
So this might be a good opportunity for you guys to showcase some of the things that you guys have been 3D printing.
Okay. Go on, Josh. You go first. I'll sort myself out.
Yikes. Okay.
All right then.
No, it's fine. I'm good.
Did I put you guys on the spot? It's written down on the sheet right here.
I mean, that's impressive.
Okay.
Follow
So
the
I
script.
have a Creality Ender 3 Pro. I've liked it quite a bit. It was my first printer. Buddy of mine had one. Actually, he had a different style one. He said he was going to be looking into the 3 Pro, so that's the one that I picked up. It was like $200, just a little bit under. I only run Hatchbox PLA Plus. It costs a couple bucks more each roll, but I don't care. It runs really good for me. That's what I'm going to continue to use. I could probably go Amazon Basic and get it for like $18 compared to $23, but why mess with it? Why my settings that I know that works, that's what I'm going to stick with. So last night's print. I've showed all these guys, but my thought was I have a concealed carry permit, so I can conceal carry when I want to or when I need to. I like to have
firearms for the Brits.
firearms, yeah,
of course. Yeah.
So I like to have my firearm located in a decent spot in my car. My cup holder was always a thought that I could make something that would fit in my cup holder or even down in my door cup holder. There's one on the driver's side and the passenger side door at the very footwells of the doors. So I printed something modeled off of my pistol that I have. I believe this one's 10% print, but it is a holster. A cupster, I called it. I know it'll be inversed for you, but and my pistol fits nicely down inside of it. I would show you, but TOS, it does fit nice down inside of it. And the other concern that I had was, well, maybe your cup holder's not going to be the size. My Honda's different than what my Terrain is, and my Tahoe's different than what that is. So I made these rings for these. So this goes over top of the holder, and then you can put that into your cup well as opposed to anything else. So then it'll fit nicely down inside there just like that. That's a 4-inch ring that's around that one. I can make all different sizes of rings depending on how big you can make square ones or octagon ones, whatever kind of shape that you wanted. I started out with a different kind of design. It was pretty much the same thing, except it was just a single one. It was pretty tight. I could actually screw this down to like the table if I wanted to. And this one I could probably screw it to the wall and I'd be able to draw off of it if I wanted. So kind of something I thought about.
If you got your pistol in the cup holder, where do you put your Slurpee?
Well, you have more than one cup holder.
Yeah.
I remember that too.
So Derek's asking in chat, Josh, do we sell the stuff we make in 3D printers? I've never given it a thought, quite honestly.
I could. That was kind of not where I wanted to go with this, but I thought this was a relatively decent idea for some people in states where you have open carry that maybe you wanted to have it accessible, not on your hip, but you could have it in your cup holder. I put my logo on this one, which I thought I just wanted to put it on there. I figured if I did sell it to somebody else, I'd continue to put it on there. This one has my phone number on the side of it as well. I'm not going to show it on stream, but if I sold one to somebody, at least they could reference it later on and say, oh yeah, this is the guy to call, or this is where I picked it up from. I could put our website on there, or my website, or our Discord. I mean, I could put whatever I wanted, either concaved or convexed into the plastic. So I mean, really, I can make it whatever size you needed. This one is for my 3.3 XDS. So it is relatively shallow. I can make them deeper. I could recess them. I can pretty much take a picture of a firearm and then use that to build off of this. And then, like I said, it's really just getting the ring to fit into your cup holder, to your console.
So here's a question. Given that you modeled those yourself, what clearance do you allow for an interference fit? What do you find works for you?
So this fit, when I upscaled this to fit inside of this ring, was a 0.15 inches. Okay,
yeah.
But this is tight. This is tighter than I wanted it to be. This is it's tighter than I thought it was going to. So I'd probably take this and take some sandpaper to it, but I'll probably increase this a little bit. Even if this was relatively loose and wobbled on it, obviously this wouldn't be a good fit to where there's too much wobble. It would keep it centered, it wouldn't keep it from moving around, but that's probably a 1/4 inch out of size. So maybe under 1/8 of an inch would probably be somewhere where I'd want to go. This was kind of my first trial, and it was for myself, but I'm happy with how this turned out. I didn't need to do too much to it, and it fits really well.
So I do 0.1 or thereabouts of a millimeter. That's what I aim for.
Yeah, I think like a 0.2 of an inch, so it'd be a little bit under. But that would be upsizing the whole thing. So like this is a 3-inch round, so I did a 3.15 inch round for this. Yeah. But I think I needed to go closer to a 1/4 inch upscale, which it isn't going to be a clearance issue. It's going to be a sizing issue. So mine's just a proportionate thing as opposed to like an actual what's it called, spacing situation. But I am happy with how this turned out. I could print this again right now; it'd be the exact same thing over again.
Yeah.
I thought about selling these. I thought if I could sell it to somebody that I know, I could print quite a bit of these, like $10. I mean, I could print a lot of these. So I think a $10 range would be pretty cool. I could take pictures and put them up, but I got some other things that I can show, kind of things that I originally printed off. The kids wanted little catapults, so I printed this little catapult setup, and it sits down. You can put peas or corn or whatever you want in there, and you launch it, and it flies across the room.
That's why the kids want them to get rid of their vegetables at the dinner table.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I printed phone stands. Somebody wanted a phone stand, so you can put it up in there, and your phone sits inside of the stand. You can sit it on the desk. I made a bunch of masks for the back of your head. They went around the back of your head like this, and ear savers, I guess they call them.
That looks really flexible. Is that still in PLA?
It's still PLA. It's probably
really flexible.
4 layers of PLA. Maybe not even that. Maybe 3 layers. A couple guys at work, we had pop cans and stuff. They wanted these tops. So goes on top of your pop can. You can flip it up and flip it down, and then drink out of it. Keeps bees out of it and stuff in the summertime. A guy wanted a handle for his cans as well too. So a can would clip into here.
Oh yeah.
Make bases for him as well.
Derek's saying this stuff is cool. It is cool.
So can goes in there, sits like that, and then you can drink it like normal. Made little figurines. I got a whole bunch of stuff that I made for a guy. This is a Master Chief. Haven't finished painting yet. Derek likes some of this stuff. This is a 223 round.
Nice.
A little bit smaller than a 5.56. It'll cycle. It'll cycle in my AR. Same thing with my 45. So it's just a dummy round, but it's exact size. I mean, it cycles. I could put this in the middle of my mag. It'll cycle through my clip just like everything else. Most of these are 15 to 20% density. As far this isn't a solid piece. It's got a structure inside of it when it prints. So, Richard, you can do lines, you can do quads, you can do grids. I mean, I have like 20 different things I can choose from as far as what I use. Most of the time, mine are lines because it'll be an overlapping and then a nice etch pattern. I know it'll work out well. I've used grids. Some of my early prints, I tried doing some other stuff. There's a Mario and Bowser statue around here somewhere. One of my layers didn't sit well, so it was like the whole layer kind of peeled off of it. I had to glue it back down, so I quit using that style. Here's a mask I printed. It has an insert in it, so you take the insert out. This one was relatively thick as far as the plastic being in it. So you take the insert and you could wrap something around it, even like a piece of cloth or a bandana. Then on the outside, put something inside here. People are using like the cotton squares that you can get from a pharmacy. You can put a cotton square in there, snap the outside on, and it's got a little radioactive symbol on the outside. Printed out really well. This one didn't use any supports, which I couldn't believe. It printed this way down. I think this was like a 6-hour print. The cupster, this was about a 5.5-hour print on 0.28. So there's different densities, different layers. I mean, how it looks and everything on the outside. It's pretty smooth all the way around. It's not perfectly rounded, but it's a pretty decent print. This one is octagonal shaped, I guess, a cone shape.
Cool.
That's kind of my my bag of goodies that I usually show people. Yeah.
So I'm gonna attempt to do something here which might break everything, but I'm gonna try it anyway. So if I turn, hold on, I'm gonna play with some sources here on maybe that might work.
Oh, I got this one too. I didn't show
that one off.
Yeah. So this is a little baby. This is a stand. Pretty much the same thing. We have a baby monitor. There's a kickstand on the back of it. Gone, broke. Kid broke it. So we wanted to be able to set it. So this goes on the nightstand. I printed another one, but it'll sit on her nightstand, and then the baby monitor is right there, so she can look at it. But it's a phone stand. I mean, I can use it for my Switch if I wanted to, and set that on it. I mean, really, you could use it for a tablet. I mean, you could use it for anything. But same thing. It's just layered plastic. Turned out pretty good. No support.
good.
Printed just like this. Picked it off the bed. 2 hours later, had a stand.
So here's what I've been messing with. Ignore the. In fact, I can probably get rid of the game capture thing. Where's that? Can't find it. Maybe there. No. Oh well, it'll be there somewhere.
Oh, here's a lock situation.
We'll go with We'll go with what we've got, shall we?
She broke the arm. Got to reprint the arms.
So anyway, so what I've got here is I've got my IR tracker, so the thing I held up before, and I've just realised I can't now hold it up because I'm not on camera. But hey, that's how it goes. And this was for me probably one of the more complex designs that I've done. So this is all in Fusion 360, and what you can't really tell is how many parts there are, but there are 3. So I started out with the main body, which is this piece. Essentially, what goes in here is there's an LED in each of these faces, a little infrared LED, and then there's space in here for the cable to run around the inside, and a couple of resistors, and then the cable comes through this hole and kind of drops at the bottom.
Are you showing something that I can't see?
Yeah, he's probably showing on his stream.
Yeah. I am, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, you're on your stream.
Sorry, that's I didn't think that.
No, it's all good.
All right, I'll be quick. So anyway, so adding the other parts to it. So this was the first time I made something where a part presses into another part, and it's just an interference fit. So I can turn the first one off, and you can see that this is just really simple. It's just skin.
Posted the multi-stream. Just if anybody wants to see what Richard's talking about, you can see it.
Yep. And then there's the mount. So there's the third part, and all of these bits actually just went to this one certainly, and the main part just went together first try. So that was a bit of I'm going to say a stroke of luck, but the difference for this is that I could create all of those in the same drawing and transfer the sizes across between the parts, which means I can see how it looks like when it's what it looks like when it's fitted together. And if I was to zoom in, you can kind of see the clearances, so you can see that there is a clearance there, just maybe. And that was I think the secret. You can see the clearance down the side here. In real life, of course, there isn't a clearance along there, but you get the drift.
Right.
And then the other thing that I've been printing a bunch of recently are, let's see if this loads. Yep. So this looks really big on the screen at the moment, but it's effectively a bird box camera, and I'm going to get rid of the bit that you can't see in everybody else's streams and go back to the normal camera, because I can show you some of those printed out. Where is it then? There we go, back to normal. So you saw this bit because I held it up earlier. It does actually still come to pieces. I can't quite see in this light to do that, but there's the mount, which is just one piece, and then I won't bother peeling the other parts together, but the mount literally just clips on and snaps onto. Oops, not quite see in the light that I've got, but there you go. Somebody change the lights and it'll be fine. And that essentially, that wedge on the back of it just matches the angle of my headphones here. So that's one thing. The other thing is we've been playing with these little circuit boards with cameras on. So what that is I think I used one a while back for a stream, and I called it Desk Cam. There's one inside my 3D printer. You can see one of those pictures. The top one of the two inside the printer at the moment is one of these modules inside a 3D printed case that I made on this printer. And these are really cheap. I
And
was
we were
thinking,
surprised by how good they looked too. I mean, they work.
yeah,
Those cameras
I mean,
look really well.
I mean, it's okay. I mean, it's got quite a good resolution. If the light's good, then it's pretty good. In poor light, then like any CMOS camera sensor, it gets quite slow. So for that board, I've printed these little cases, and here's one with a camera inside it. So you can see the lens poking out the front. There is an LED, a white LED in there. That's the kind of the yellowy looking box. And then you can see the rest of it inside. And that one's still got the pins on it, but I take the pins off and then literally just screw it into the wooden roof of the bird box. And that will work, I think, really well. It's Wi-Fi, obviously, and will connect to the Wi-Fi in the house from down the garden, hopefully. And we've got a bunch of bird boxes to put up, so probably be next season now before we get, or next year rather, before we get anything out of them. But that's the general plan.
So why are you spying on birds in bird boxes?
So I mean, it's partly because we've got two kids, and we put up a blue tit box this year. Don't know whether you guys get blue tits or whether that's just another one of those British idiosyncrasies.
No comment.
Good. So anyway, and then of course, we're pointing at this box, telling the kids, look, the adults are going in there nesting, and other things, and ultimately, of course, the birds hatched and fledged and disappeared, and the kids saw nothing of it.
Right.
So I thought, well, next time, let's have a camera in there. And you mentioned this is what I often use for Twitch chat. It's just an old Kindle Fire HD, and so I had how do I put this underneath my monitor, and then just modelled this really simple stand. It's actually very, very hollow. There's virtually no material inside it, and the tablet literally just about to see there. It's a made-to-measure kind of fit. The tablet just fits inside it, and then the back obviously is made to match the shape of my monitor stand underneath. So the whole thing just sits in front of the monitor and comes up level with the bottom of the bezel.
Nice.
Or top of the bottom bezel, I should say.
Yeah, the only other things I had like that. See, I showed you this one, Richard. This one was a print in place as well. Where that hinge printed in place. I just did another one, a phone stand for a guy that I redid the whole thing, and this was just off of Thingiverse. It was as a nice print, but that little box printed in place with that hinge on it and everything. So it goes to show how even plastic, the lines are pretty good in this one as well too. Outside's kind of rough because it's printed face down, but it has a little clasp in it, and it does close, and it won't reopen again. I could print a different color lid if I wanted, and there's the actual hinge of it. I could put a different color lid on it if I wanted to. Pretty neat little thing. I mean, you could sell for probably a couple bucks, and somebody would buy, and
maybe
neat thing for like these kind of flash cards or SD things, and throw them in there and throw them in a book bag and not have to worry about it.
And Derek's asking in chat, did I make my own camera? Well, I kind of bought the module and slightly modified the software. That's all I did. But I just then got the digital caliper out, measured the circuit board, and then just modeled the holder for it. So there's one inside the 3D printer, as I say, at the moment, which is I'm just going to see if I can. I probably can, but I'm not going to do it now. I was going to try and grow it so that it fills the screen.
Here's another one I made. Colby's been watching me make this one. I made this for a guy at my local.
Oh, you've done the paint. Yeah, good.
Yeah, I painted it. It doesn't look the greatest, but it look okay. I showed these guys it's kind of for USB drives to sit into. They don't sit the greatest, but I mean, you can't. There's no way you'd be able to wiggle them out. And same thing, you throw stuff in the top of it, put it underneath his monitor wherever he wants on his desk, and it'll be sitting there like that. So this wasn't a print. This was something I made. It's relatively simple to do, and The Tinkercad that I use
Mm.
is almost too easy to use, actually. So I have Fusion 360. I think Richard uses an older version because he knows how to use that version the best. I don't think you have a new one, do you?
It's current.
Is it current? I thought you
No,
had
it's current. Yeah. So
I had-
the appeal is that it's a free license for makers, so people are using it not for profit. It's free.
not
And,
not
yeah.
buy this, not for profit. No.
Well, no. Yeah.
Yeah. I will probably move over to Fusion because I've been doing AutoCAD and Revit 360, which is an Autodesk product, and Fusion 360 is an Autodesk product, and there'll be a lot of correlation with that stuff. But I've been trying to get in and doing that for work and taking some courses with it. So might be something I'll look into. Tinkercad's just too easy. It's a browser based as well too, so
Yes.
you can load it from your phone or computer anywhere on the planet and start making something, modeling something off of it. I could go to a buddy's house. I mean, I could fly to Richard's place, open my Tinkercad, download a STL on his computer, and print it at his house. And it's all cloud-based, web-based.
And so actually, you can do the same with this. You could just log in every time I go into Fusion. Yeah, I just have to log in. If you logged in, it would have all your projects in it instead.
Yeah, I can. I log in with my AutoCAD account at home, and then I can work out stuff just the same. I think it's cool just being just a web-based thing, and it's pretty simple. I mean, definitely not as much stuff. I could probably make your headset and everything on there. It would take me quite a bit longer though, and it's a lot more of a. It's an easier build process as opposed to a Fusion. So, Fusion would be a long-term thing to get into and invest some time and learn how to do.
So I thought that as well, Josh. What got me was that I was frustrated that I couldn't, and I think you demonstrated it the other day when we were just talking together about it. But though I couldn't put different radiuses on edges.
Yeah.
And so I ended up with something that had a squared off edge on one side, and it was radiused on the on the other face. And I just went, do you know what? I give up. I'll just print it. I'm done.
Yeah. This is kind of what we were talking about with this print. So I wanted these radius edges on the inside, and I can't pull that radius off of those files. So when I input that into this cylinder, I even took these edges off of these corners because I wanted to have a nicer edge just so it didn't catch. This one I didn't do it with. I can't take that edge off on Tinkercad. I have to put something in there and then remove that space. So it's either the block or the inverse of the block. So it's either a solid or a hollow, and that's what it's going to be. So I had to go in there and do that. So I used a triangle to round off the edges on the inside. I used a cone, I think. Same kind of type with this. I used the cone originally. I inlaid this into it. I switched it from a solid to a hollow, and that's how I got the circle out of it. You can do that different in Fusion. You could do an individual corner if you wanted to, and a certain amount of it if you wanted to as well. So that's where a lot of like the very specific stuff comes in beneficial. So it'll probably be where I lead to as well.
And I think for me the nice thing once you've kind of got a bit of an idea what you're doing with it, you can find functional things, and I'll put it up on the screen, but it just leads us back to that place of I can't see what you're doing, Richard. For anybody who is watching, go on. For anybody who is watching, there's a part on my screen which is a part of our our freezer in the kitchen. So an integrated appliance with a door front on it. And of course, one day one of the kids pulled the door open and it broke the two clips that essentially kind of slide it. There's like a mushroom that this thing slides onto, and then a screw to the wooden door. And of course, if it's broken, then the door just flaps about in the breeze, which is no use to man or beast. And it's being able to just say, I have a problem. Here's some broken bits of plastic. Measure it up, print a new one. That's what got me into 3D printing. I love it.
I'm gonna try to show something on Discord. If I break everything, I'll just go back to it, but I think I want to try to show you guys this. And it's something with Tinker that I just found.
Oh,
let me
look
turn.
at that. This is actually working. Sort of.
Okay, well, it probably messed up your guys' screens, unfortunately.
Not really all that bad.
Yeah, maybe, possibly Richard's.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you guys'.
No, that works. As long as you press
Okay.
the watch stream, you're in. Yep.
Yeah. So this is the Tinkercad setup. I've modified this one. I put my logo on the bottom of it and everything.
Mhm.
Richard, I didn't know this about Tinker, but up here in the corner, I can make this into a block set, and
That's cool.
it'll print it in blocks, and then I could have a Lego.
Oh,
That's
wow.
cool.
I didn't know that. I
Good
think
job.
I want to try it, but I guess we'll give that a go sometime as well.
Welcome.
Kind of an
That is really cool.
yeah.
Oh no, you.
So this is for Lego?
Yeah,
Well,
this is my
blocks.
STL for this, so I think this will
Yeah.
print like this.
Yeah, it is me.
But it's freaking me out how this would work. I mean, you can see how like the center block is going to be meshed with the inside one, and these two are going to be built off of that, so it'll print these blocks out. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna go back to this. So yeah, I made this one off of another one. This is the desktop one that I made from scratch, that I thought I could put a hole in and mount on a desktop if I wanted to. So same kind of holster. I didn't know if I wanted to put a couple holes in it to be able to mount it to a wall or to a desk, but same principle pretty much. Sits inside there, sits over top of it. I've showed all these guys these. This is a bedside holster. So this would mount to like the side of your nightstand, or to if you had a bed frame or something like that, it would sit inside here. Extra mag would sit on the side of it, or I guess I'm sorry, it's sitting on its side because of how I would need to print it, but it would be like this. So the pistol would sit down inside, your extra mag would lay on the side of it. You'd screw this to a board or whatever you'd want to. What else do I got? Oh, I guess I can show you this one. This is that stand. I don't think it has a name on it. It might have my name in it actually, because it was my modified. Yeah, there's my name inside that. So same thing. Has a hinge on it. It opens and closes. Put your phone in it. And kind of goes V-shaped, and then you can rest your phone. But
Yep, pretty cool.
I took those inlays out and put some stuff over top of it. The culoid's kind of boring. I think that's pretty much it. I'll show you this one. This is neat because it screws together, and if you look up an oloid, what it is, it's something that's oblong shaped, or it's two similar sized circles. When these get put together,
Oh yeah, I see. Yeah.
this one goes together the opposite of that one, so they run in perpendicular to each other, and then you can roll it across the table. But that's an actual screw, a threaded joint, and it threads into here. So I added this for a screwdriver head if I needed it. Screw it into this one. I take that one, I screw that into that. It's about halfway, and those two pieces go together. I had no problem with this at all. I printed this.
You didn't have to clean it at all.
I printed it. I pulled it off the bed. I cleaned off the inside of these, but I don't think I needed to. I think the only reason that I would need to is I probably had too good of a smash on my first layer, because I'm just always worried about it. So I get a good compression on my first layer, but I could have probably screwed these right in, and they would have worked out okay.
And it lines up fine? There's no misalignment? That's cool.
No, it lined up fine. I put the guy's name on it, just so it was custom. I think he ended up painting. I printed it in white. He painted it lime green. That's what he wanted. So, but I could take. I've started to realize I could take a figure. I could take something that they had online, and I could modify it however I wanted. I could put your name on it. I could put a company logo on it. I could do whatever I wanted and print it and have something custom. So yeah, this is the ring for that cup holster, the cupster. And then I can modify the size of this as well too, so I can make it as big as I needed to and invert it. So kind of a neat program. This whole block thing's kind of throwing me off. I found that the other day and thought,
I'm going to have to look at that now, Josh, because we like any family with kids, we spend far too much money on Lego, and make something out of blocks. Yes.
Well,
it's gonna happen.
that's interesting because a coworker of mine has a 3D printer, and his kid's really into Lego, like most kids. And they wanted to build a boat that would actually float. So he 3D printed the base of a boat with all the dots on it that the bricks can connect to and all that. And I wish we would have had this sort of thing when I was a kid, because for the longest time I wanted one of those castles that it's a base and then you build the castle off of it, and the base looks like it's got rocks and a little pathway and things like that.
So you've got me now. I'm going to show you this, and you will see it this time, all being well. There we go. Oh yeah, okay.
Look at that.
Right, do you see that? This is. I'll let you catch up.
Yep, we got it. I got it.
There you go. So this is modelled by me in Fusion. So as I've learned how, I think I may have had a go at one in Tinkercad. Yeah, sure, Lego, almost Lego. This has been my kind of exercise in learning how to model stuff. So you've kind of got the solid. Whoa, a follow from Jonathan, the computer freak. Thank you for the follow. So you've kind of got the solid, which is kind of the way where everybody starts out. Then you've got some cylinders, which are extruded upwards off the face here, some text, and then of course these fillets, the rounded kind of edges. And then just to prove that it's not a cheat, underneath we have the center kind of binding tubes, which again have fillets on. There's a fillet on this inside edge as well, which you can kind of see. So that, for me, I mean, it was being able to turn around and say, I want to make a functional part. And you get these really crazy looking geometries where it attempts to render it and it looks horrific.
Well, then the thought, you can print that as big as you want.
Well, you can, but
you could print it actual size, or you could print them 2 inches, and
you could print it as Duplo instead. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
So for that one, I did that obviously using the digital caliper, and it comes out spot on. You can put it together with other Lego, and actually one of the reasons why it's got this radius on the inside here is not just for being pretty. It's because of that smush that you talked about, where you extrude the first layer of that plastic down quite hard, and therefore you get a little bit of kind of it's not sprue, it's what do you want to call it? Like a little flare on the bottom
skirt layer. Almost.
Yeah, almost. Yeah. And so that kind of gets rid of that. If you put a feature like that on it, and you can afford to lose a bit of surface area, then you end up with something that's pretty much square all the way to the bottom.
So for everyone else, there's another option which you can print them on a raft. What a raft does is it puts down layers on the print bed before it starts extruding the actual piece. So it'll put down 2 or 3 layers first, and then your piece will print on top of it. You do it if you wanted a really nice bottom for some reason. If somebody was going to see, if you had to print something that you didn't want to put supports on, and you needed to print it upside down, so the top would be viewed all the time, you could invert it and put it on a raft, and then you'd waste probably less plastic because you wouldn't have to put any supports in. Supports are if you have something that's on an overhang, 90-degree angle, 65 degrees angle, whatever it is, to support the plastic from just falling down. So why are we building Lego pieces, Mahmood? Because it's cheaper.
Good question. Well, do you know it is? Is it? I'm trying to think. If you go in there with a cup,
I bet you it would be a lot cheaper to print 1,000 Lego pieces than to buy 1,000 Lego pieces.
So when I was a kid, there used to be a little booklet that came in every Lego set, and it was just an advert for other Lego sets, but there was also talk about the Lego Club. And on the very back page was an order sheet where you could order just a bunch of base pieces.
Yeah.
Do they still offer that?
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
They
you
do.
can still do that.
They do, but most of the time in stores, you're buying a kit. You're buying
True. Yeah.
a Lego fighter, or
A
a
set.
Star Wars fighter or something
Yeah.
that $80 for
I
the
know.
one cruiser,
It's ridiculous, but
But yeah, if you just wanted individual pieces, you can go to Lego Land and buy 50 pieces for I don't know X amount of dollars. I don't know how much they are. They're not cheap. They're not as cheap as they should be. Put it that way.
No, that's right. And then other simple stuff is like this. The bracket that holds my boom mic up. This is all it is. It's just a very solid looking shape. No attempt at making it pretty, and then a couple of straps that screw
function over fashion.
Those. Well, you don't see it because it's behind the monitor.
Yeah.
And it was another first time fit. Just print and stick it on. So.
Do you still have the failed attempt at that?
No, that went in the bin.
Yeah.
So, like you do. So what I thought I'd do to be clever was print it on its end. So it was printed on this end and stood up. I'm rubbish at turning these round, but so it's printed that way up, and it got to about here, or maybe about here, and then kind of broke off the platform and started sort of skating round. And it's only because I've got a glass build platform, didn't put any glue on it, and feeling a bit cocky, and it didn't quite work. But even without a complete closed hole, it just slid on to the bar that it slides onto, and held the microphone boom up. So all good, really. But yes, it's seeing problems and making something. That's what I love doing. Love it.
When I was involved in RC cars and everything, we'd break pieces all the time. Almost every time we took them out, we would break something. And what we had talked about doing is taking all of the broken parts and screwing them together on a placard of some sort, and the most epic wreck gets the trophy.
Yes.
You guys should totally do that with your failed, your botched jobs.
So this is.
So I hide them.
This is one that I had the other day that I kept because he was interested in what the actual, what it looked like. So I have this one.
Yeah,
it is a Yeti mug, or I guess a handle for a Yeti.
Yep.
Let me see. Why is my? Oh, that's why. Sorry, I have you on full screen. That's why everything's weird.
Well, that's pretty scary for everybody.
There we go. Okay. It's a Yeti handle for a 30-ounce Yeti mug, so it slides, from the bottom up, and then this part there'd be a handle that came down, and it was really nice. I could show you, but so I printed the guy's name on it, on the outside of it. It turned out pretty good. I mean, it was going okay. Got to that point, and it came off my bed. So this was printing like this, and it's printing up so that when it printed the handle, it could just continuously keep printing up. I don't know what happened. Bed might have got, I don't know. It might have, maybe I hit something. The bed got too hot. It might have loosened the plastic up and then let it go. But this was a side that was down on the bed. Can't really notice too much on it. I mean, it just looks like smashed plastic. And then this was what was up. So that was the infill, the line fill from that print.
Yep.
I think this was like 15%. I didn't really care too much about it. I just wanted to see it print, but that's kind of what it looks like in the inside. And that would have ran all the way down. That's how the whole ring is and everything. It's a pretty solid piece. I mean, I can flex it.
Yep.
But I mean, for what you're using it for, I wouldn't be too worried about it.
No, I agree.
I could definitely break it by hand, though. I mean, I could smash it.
Yeah. So I must admit, I started out with, I bought the printer I've got simply because it printed ABS straight out the box, and for me that was quite a big consideration to begin with. Everything I'd read said for functional parts you want ABS, it's more forgiving, blah blah blah. And I endured the smells and everything else from it. And then only fairly recently did I try printing for the first time in PLA. And there is a difference. The ABS holds its shape better. So my microphone boom mount has just started to warp slightly with the weight of the boom. It's constantly pulling at an angle. I mean, it's not a problem. It's functionally fine. But if I lift the, I can feel a certain amount of slack, kind of in the length of that boom.
I think that happens with the stock one too, because mine's got a bit of a give to it as well.
Oh yeah, you might find it's more a failure of the boom itself. That'd be good news, wouldn't it? The whole thing fall down on my head. But no, I mean, actually transitioning across to PLA as I've done, it's surprisingly good material, and people have told me that they've printed stuff and left it outside where you're kind of not supposed to, yeah.
I'd be pretty concerned.
Can't change the lights. Interesting.
I'd be pretty concerned with the PLA sitting outside. I'm partially concerned with this even in a cup holder in a car for a long period of time to see how that would react with it, because if you take some hot water, if I run it through my Keurig, I could put this in here. I could smash this flat. I mean, it could turn into a rubber ball. So I am relatively concerned with that, but this is why I printed it first, to see how it fit in my car for one, and see how it actually held up, because there is so many other. You can go to ABS, you can go to PETG. There's a couple other ones that are like this is an organic material as opposed to the other stuff. So I might try other options as well. We'll see though.
Yeah. So So Carl on here is saying I kind of broke my Creatility Ender 3 when removing a print that got stuck on the table. Haven't been able to recalibrate ever since. So that's where is yours a 3 Pro? Is that the right term for it?
They're pretty much the same thing, but
you've got the flexible,
knobs,
removable platform, haven't you? So I don't have that. Yeah. I guess recalibrating. We'll have to talk about that sometime. Could probably help you.
He needs to upgrade for like $20. Upgrade to some springs, take his bed off, reflatten his bed on a solid surface, and then put the new springs in and the new wheels, and he'd probably be set. If it's an under 3, it's the same thing as my 3 Pro. It's just there's little differences for upgrades, but not really too much different for a printer. I like my Pro though. If anyone would ask, I'd get either an Ender 3 Pro or a Prusa, like an i3 or an i5, I guess. But Prusa's kind of the go-tos. I like my 3 Pro, so I can't complain. I have a mag bed as well on mine. So the magnet beds are super beneficial. I lift the magnet bed off, and I take the print off, and I put the magnet bed back down, or the mag pad. I would not use one without the mag pad. So
no.
It gives a little bit of roughness in the print on the bottom. You can kind of see where it was kind of stuck to the mat at. It's not perfectly, but it's on the bottom side of all my prints. So kind of the same. Well, this has got junk in it because it was in a cup holder, but
yeah. Whereas mine come off fairly shiny. I mean, they would come off completely shiny except for I don't know whether I'm going to pick up I don't know whether you can see that kind of.
Yeah, you can see the shine off the screen.
Yeah,
too.
and that's kind of glue that gives you some of that kind of pattern. There is a little bit of a pattern there, and that's just where I've used the glue stick on the glass. Otherwise, in theory, you could get almost a mirror.
I did use a glue stick on this one. This printed like this. I didn't want to print it like this because I was worried that, my number on the top, because I wanted to designate this as a 4, so that I would have had to make that a concave instead of a convex. I printed it like this. I wanted the top to look a lot nicer than the bottom. I could print it like this, but so I did glue stick where I knew this was going to be, because there was only 2 or 3 layers on my bed compared to the 15 layers on the top. So I did glue stick this one. Same thing. I pulled the magnet bed off, flexed it went, and I put the magnet bed back down. So if yours doesn't come with a magnet bed, look it up and buy one.
So how long before you two guys are going to go and Colby and Mike, how long before you fall down into the bear trap of 3D printing?
Oh, I've thought about it so many times. It's just the number of things that I would be printing would be just little baubles to sit around my desk, which is fine, I guess. But do I need more crap sitting around my desk? I don't know.
So I sold some of those. I had a bunch of I don't have them anymore. I had a bunch of different styles of bandana ear savers. So I printed a bunch of those ear savers for people that I work with, for the company that I work for. They purchased some from me. So I told them how much a couple spools of plastic would be. I'll print as many as you need. Pay for the spools of plastic. And he's like, well, we want to give you a little bit extra. So they paid for plastic. They gave me a little bit of money. I printed some for the local grocery store. I sent some to a buddy in Southern Illinois. I pick up stuff here and there. Like somebody broke a handle to a meat slicer. He said it cost $25 for him to get it. I told him $20 sounds good. It's going to cost me about $2 maybe in plastic. So I mean that'll be neat to pick that stuff. So I haven't really made my money back on it yet, but it's not not hurting me at all. There's stuff that I kind of print day to day, but I try not to print shit or stuff just because like I just want it to be sitting around. I don't need a huge thing of stuff, and like I thought I'd print like a really big Master Chief thing and I'd paint it all out. I am much more into like designing something and printing a specific necessity. Something for a necessity as opposed to just stuff.
I think if I ever got back into RC cars, I would probably get a 3D printer. I'd have to live with the fact that it would be, not the most durable items that I'd be building, but I think
some of them are.
Some of them are.
Some of the materials
are they
get them.
They're the same quality.
Kind of almost carbon fiber type infused plastics that are strong.
So this, just because this kind of plastic I wouldn't trust to run it over, I could purchase a plastic that's you could run this over with a semi truck. I mean, like the PETG plastic is what you'd use for a lot of that kind of stuff. It is a lot more expensive, but I break an A-arm every time I drove my RC car. So I mean, I could print 5 or 6 of those and have them in the toolbox, and then I could just switch it out and continue playing.
It's funny you mentioned A-arms because I'd be buying packages of A-arms in bulk.
Right. So
and then I discovered a brand that was virtually indestructible. So I put those on, and then everything that was attached to that A-arm started to break.
That's how RC is. You always want the one thing. You want the A-arm. You don't want to buy the best yokes for your drive shaft in the RC, because when you do that, then everything behind it starts slipping, and then you're buying a transmission and gears and everything else. So you want to have that point of that's where it's going to break, to where like PLA would be fine for that. You could print this for $20. You can get a roll of PLA. I don't think if you just printed A-arms, you'd probably never need to buy another roll of plastic. Like that's how many you could print off of one roll of plastic. So yeah, I don't even know how many of these I could print on one roll. Probably 20 of them, 30 of them. I've been trying to get a handle on how much it would take to use a whole roll of plastic. I've been kind of hitting. I print so much odd stuff. It's kind of hard to know. So and I know Fusion and Cura, which is my slicing program that I use for a slicer, it gives a poundage or a weight on the plastic. So you could really probably print something, weigh it out, see how much that would take, and then you could base that off of like an overall spool. It's a little much. I just always have a backup spool ready to go. So
I'm trying to think of things that I could possibly print. So, like some of my hobbies, unfortunately, are expensive. Like I can't build drum parts out of plastic. Unfortunately, I can build the list of things that I could build out of plastic are very limited. Like cymbal nuts, I could do that, I guess. But
you could probably build yourself a mobile phone holder that clips to your drum or something. There you go.
Right.
Well, there are. If I ever got into mics and miking up, I get mic clips for sure. Yeah, I could see that.
Yep.
So little mounting brackets for things like I don't know if I have it here anymore.
Hmm.
I do.
So Mike. We were also watching the D&D streamers the other night, and you were talking about D&D a lot too.
Yeah, I do. I would love to get back into D&D, but it's time commitment. And
Well, that's the guy that I went off of when I bought my printer. That's what he does, and he does the board top, the actual tabletop ones.
yeah.
He has Rubbermaid totes full of figurines. I mean,
Yeah.
like
That-
he has a room with shelves like every 1.5 feet off the ground, and they're full of D&D figures and
if I
Warhead
was
figures and
gonna
everything.
do that, I would do what my brother and I did when we played, and just get the dry erase marker on the mat and do it like that, or go to a digital platform. I don't think I'd do figurines.
Well,
That's a whole other subset of hobbies that's related to D&D.
he sells them though,
Yeah.
and he sells them for good money too. So I mean, printing a
Maybe.
unprinted D&D set, like it'll probably cost you $10 to print them,
And I wouldn't even have to paint them. People would buy them
Right.
to paint.
And-
So
Yeah, you buy, even if you sold them for double the price. You made them for $10, you sold them for $20 or $30, which is cheap for quality figurines. People buy that stuff all the time. People buy stuff from him weekly. He's sending stuff to people. So I'm just not into D&D stuff. I don't even know what to look for in 20-sided dice and all that. So I don't know what that stuff is.
Oh well, I mean, I'm into all kinds of board games, and I have a satchel of dice somewhere in my shelf that, from D3s to or D4s, I guess D4s up to D20s. Oops. But this bad boy here,
Be careful.
I need to find a mount, just the mount that put this on my drum set. It's just a wood block. That's like a $30 or $40 attachment to just mount this block onto my drum set.
Yeah,
Josh is looking at that thinking, 4.5 hours?
probably not too bad.
But
Depends on where you
and
want
it,
to mount it. You don't
it
have
is
to
a,
print
it
that?
is a bit hefty.
Oh yeah, it wouldn't be if we printed it. It'd be a bit lighter.
Well,
A bit
you
lighter
don't get
than
the same effect out of a piece of
Yeah.
plastic.
No.
I guess.
Yeah,
but-
fair one.
It wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, good.
I probably look it up. I'm sure somebody probably already has an STL file they've already made for it.
Probably.
There's a lot of that kind of stuff as well too. You don't even really have to, you don't have to make your own stuff. It's funny because we've looked into some stuff. Like Richard was doing those cases for those cameras, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna start making one up." I just looked one up online, and I found one.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
like he wants his, he wants it suited for what he needs. He wants his mounting brackets to be right. He knows that he put the time in to actually make it and everything, and it didn't take that much time. I mean, Richard's
right.
done it so many times that he can do it for just the same amount of time. I can look up, why webcam case, and then all of a sudden it'll pop up, and then I can start printing it. Yeah, that's cool and everything. It'll work just fine. But there's also something saying like, "Oh yeah, I made these cameras." So
Yeah.
that is the case with most things. Where are we at? We're at like
We're at the
2
Fine.
hours.
13.
2
Right.
hours
We
and
are,
15 minutes.
yeah.
we said we are going to be on for like an hour, didn't we? And
Well-
once again, I've lost the bet.
You said last time.
My wife has said, see you tomorrow, kind of thing, and
Right.
I went, no, we're starting early. It's fine.
Mine's slamming doors upstairs, so she's probably not happy. So that's good.
So dare we move on to another topic, or should we call her a stream?
I think we can keep the topic for next time. Kind of like what we said last time. We could do one in between weekends. We don't always have to do them on the weekend either. So maybe we can look into that as well. So we had a relatively good turnout. A lot of people here as well too. So
Well, it's been a treat for sure. I talk to you guys all the time, but it's nice to finally get something.
output for
there.
JustCuz.
Produced,
Yeah.
yeah.
So maybe we keep the topics channel open. If anybody's watching that has not followed, do that. If you haven't joined the Discord, also do that. And we'll keep the topics channel open. There's also the general channel. There's lounges that you can talk to us in.
Yeah.
Come and chit chat. Play a game play a game. Suggest a game. Just get involved. Generally, we're
Indeed.
yeah.
And of course, we've got our own servers. We've got our own servers
Yeah.
for things like Wreckfest, Miscreated, Minecraft. I need to transfer across to you, Colby, from my server to
Yeah.
yours.
Arc 5PD.
and Art, yeah, 5PD. We've, so basically, it's a nice place to just come and just come and relax. Just cuz.
Just cuz.
Just because. Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah, indeed. So, and of course, if anybody does get bored, a little advert. I'm going to be having another go at DCS later tonight. So, I've not done much streaming over the last week or so, or maybe not as much as I'd planned over the last 2 weeks. But after how 5M went last weekend, I'm going to do some DCS and be landing the F-18 on the aircraft carrier, because that's good fun. Makes for carnage sometimes, and I'm probably rusty enough now that I might even manage to chop an F-18 in half again. But we'll see. Come and laugh.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for the follows. I got a couple new followers today. And
Same.
for me, thanks for watching.
Yeah, likewise.
So, yes, thanks,
Thanks everybody. Thanks, guys.
See you guys.
Until next time.
Bye.
See ya.